My name is Tim Angevine. I'm from Warren. We have a Christmas tree farm primarily. We also do fall pumpkins, squash gourds, and we are not our extent of agritourism compared to a lot of the things that we've talked about here, or that Joan talked about, is pretty small. One of the things that we focused on as a family, and myself in particular, was to try not to turn our farm into a circus. You know, that's it's easy to say in some ways, but the reality is that if you have a business that you need to do what you need to do to make the business work. So I'm not maligning anybody that, you know, has any of the different events that we don't. It's just for us, the simplicity of the farm and the beauty of the valley. And we do have a hillside spot that we have a few weddings, so it's kind of funny, but our challenge is that we don't have any infrastructure up there, so the weddings, the few that we have are a lot of work for people, so we're not, you know, like Ben has a tremendous facility that he'll talk about, I'm sure, that is totally different from what we are. I've thought a lot throughout the day about this, and I really don't know where. I guess it's going to go with possibly with questions as far as where we go with it. The one thing that I think for me that really stuck out was you have to want to do, I mean, anything. We're not talking about agriculture in general, and we're not going to get into that part of it, but you have to really want to do it. I mean, you have to be committed to wanting it to happen. And so I guess presenting to all you guys, I wasn't really thinking as much about the zoning perspective of it, because I see on the list that most of you guys are, what you said, are looking to write regs. So you may have more questions for me than I'm going to be able to give to you guys. But it's tough, you know. I mean, the reality is for a small farm in you know, in Connecticut, is that you have to be creative. You have to have a niche that you can, some way to be unique. You're not going to, you know, make a living, you know, some of the ways that, you know, we did in the past. You have to be creative and find ways that you know, can bring people in. So,
could I ask just quickly if you've had any issues with not being able to do something you wanted to do because of zoning, and or issues with neighbors, any conflicting?
Well, we have kind of a unique situation because we're in the agricultural district per se,
right.
But we also don't have many neighbors. I mean, we do, but they've been accustomed to the farm and at least the Christmas tree part, the traffic, you know, on weekends throughout December. That's something that everybody, the few neighbors that we have that are affected by it, have known, and they embrace what we do. As far as the weddings, the few weddings that we've had, you know, we are very conscious of the music that we have and the timing of it. Yeah, not really. We haven't, you know, we're small enough still on that scale that we haven't had to, you know, haven't gotten in any trouble with that.
Okay.
Tim, I didn't realize you had weddings up there. I've been to your place. It's beautiful.
Okay, cool.
So, so when you have a wedding, do you have to go to Warren and get a permit or any application?
No. My sister is the one who primarily does the weddings. I don't believe our CEO officer just walked in. So. You can ask her. I really don't. I don't know. Like I said, we've only had
before zoning exists here.
What's that?
Pre-existing. Before zoning.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, we've certainly been there. We just celebrated our 150 years of farming on our farm with our family.
A lot more weddings.
So, yeah. So I don't know. That's a good question.
No more wedding questions.
No, it's all good.
All right.
we would.
My question, is there anything that you are hoping to go towards that you think, especially since you know we're doing our POCD and everything, and this is a conversation we can have more
Right.
offline later,
Right.
that you're hoping could somehow be incorporated that isn't right now? You know what I mean?
I can't think of anything. I missed that meeting last week at John, at the new Warren store. So I don't know what was talked about there. I know there was talk.
I think
Jim
they
had some
said
of the
they wanted
crazy-
to prohibit farming in Warren, is that?
Yeah, I missed
You
the
weren't
meeting.
there,
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything. I mean, we're not looking to expand any particular direction.
I guess I'm just, how can we help you?
Yeah, and thank you. That's, I can't think of anything offhand, that we'd like to be involved. That was one of the things I thought about today was, as being successful in your community, and whether it's your neighbors or, the people in your town, is trying to work with them, being involved in the community, whether it's like you guys with the zoning, or the fire company, or anything. It's staying connected, like boots on the ground kind of thing, and getting to know the people, and so as far as your question, I can't think of anything.
Okay. Amanda, did you have any
Sure.
farm thoughts?
So for those of you who aren't familiar with my family's farm, we actually have 3 separate businesses. So what started as a dairy farm 70 years ago has now evolved basically with each generation, because I'm 3rd generation, to now include a farm market, bakery, garden center, and a factory where we actually manufacture a biodegradable pot from our cow's manure. So we have kind of a lot of different angles, from agriculture to manufacturing to potentially agritourism with the farm market, however you end up deciding to define that. So the little tidbits that I thought about prior to coming, and to answer the question that you asked about challenges that we've had along the way, our neighbor sued us because she had the house right next to our parking lot of our farm market, because one of our employees trimmed back her rhododendron. And so we dealt with that by buying her house.
That's called zoning by owning.
But so yeah, we like, sure, there are neighbor conflicts when you move from the front yard to the backyard to be able to, what started out as a couple of bushel of sweet corn propped up on a door on the side of Route 44 then became, it's filled our 2-bay garage. And then once my mom had her 3rd baby and Isaac was playing with his little toy trucks in the farm driveway, and there's cars that are driving in and out, my mom thought, this isn't gonna work so well. And so that's why she ended up actually moving to the other side of the farm property so that her kids weren't gonna potentially get run over. But as a result, then it was a whole new set of experiences with the neighbor on that border. So that was very much to protect that farm business by procuring that property, which is now actually used for farm labor, is where they're housed. And the reality is that what she has built today, that farm market, bakery, garden center that we've hosted the Northwest Conservation District's dinner and a bar mitzvah and a wedding, we would be out of compliance with zoning. We're, I presume, grandfathered in based on the decades of building up the retail farm market business. But if we were to try to go ahead and, that speaks to your point of the age, the legacy of that business. We couldn't assume to go in and build what she has there today. And maybe as a community you wouldn't really want that. But, and I think maybe, I don't know how this weighs into any of the way you kind of perceive businesses, but the reality is we have 3 distinct businesses. Like, we choose to operate that way. So even though we are very definitively production agriculture with 300 milking cows, but my mom's business, Friends Farm Market and Bakery, when you have to actually compare the percentage of her total income and how much of that is based on her farm production versus what percentage of that is her catering and, you know, the other agritourism activities, how that weighs into how you're handling that business arrangement. And our business is very successful because we are on Route 44. We probably couldn't do what we do without being on that main road, and for many years we did have very significant like harvest events, and we would have horse-drawn hay rides, and we would have go pick your own pumpkins, and we've kind of turned that down a little bit because we've got so much else going on. But we do know that we were having an impact on our neighbors, and the police would have to come to help with managing traffic because we're on a busy road. So, but I'd say as a farmer, especially as wearing my dairy farmer hat, I've been really proactive in doing twice a year, I send out a newsletter to every postal patron in 06018, 06024, 06058, and just to let our neighbors know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and making sure that my phone number is on every single one of those newsletters. And I'm not projecting that that's what farmers should do, but I know for me and my social license to continue to be a dairy farm, that's what I feel like I need to do. So that's my bit, and I'm happy to answer questions when there are some.
Thanks.